data related to her Easy Pass and her credit card, you find out that she goes to, were you there when she's made this comment? So I loved it because I was thinking, I was like, oh, when I put my like Intel officer hat back on, then I would want to like talk to the people and friends in your circle and find out like, how do you feel about the fact that you have this desire to go to Annapolis and look at boats?
Now, my understanding is that you worked in a counterproliferation capacity at CIA, is that right?
So I was a case officer, and as is the case with most case officers, I worked a variety of different issues. So I worked counterterrorism, I worked some nuclear proliferation cases, counterproliferation cases, some counternarcotics cases, and then some of the traditional, as we would call it, sort of foreign intelligence collection. So reporting on leadership plans and intentions of various different world leaders.
Is it challenging in any way to be a former CIA officer on the other side of the fence, so to speak, in an oversight role?
I can't answer that based on experience, but I will assess that the answer is likely yes. And I would imagine, you know, having been on the other side of the house when programs and projects that I was working on were getting briefed to HPSI, right? And I'm giving all the information to the folks who are going to brief it. Like, I know what that process outbound is like. And so I do think that there may be times that on the receiving end, it will be interesting. Because, you know, I know the lingo, I know the language, I know the culture. And so I'm sure that it's going to be kind of an interesting experience. I hope that it's beneficial to the purpose of oversight, to have someone who will really know some of the ins and outs and mechanics of what it is that they're discussing. I hope that helps me do my job better. But I'm sure there will be points of frustration, probably for me and for them, frankly speaking. So.
Do you ever brief HPSI? You heard from any former colleagues still in?
Oh, yeah.
I know it's like a secretive thing, but anything generally you can share other than good luck, don't go too hard on us, that kind of stuff?
Oh, no. You know, the interesting thing I will say, agency officers typically really understand, respect, and find great value in the role of oversight. And that, you know, certainly doesn't mean that there can't be contentious conversations. And frankly, we had that on the Agriculture Committee with Department of Ag. We have it, you know, on Foreign Affairs with Department of State, the other two committees on which I've served. So it is a bit of a kind of a important state of being where there is a push and pull. But certainly I think, some of my friends who are still there are excited that I'm going to be on the oversight side, and have frankly spoken very highly of the job that former Congressman Hurd did, because he did bring a level of understanding to the discussions, which I know many people inside the building really appreciated.
Right now, you think about the weaponization subcommittee and all the stuff about deep state, and you're familiar with that. And I wonder...
I'm familiar with the accusations because they're not based in fact, but yes.
So is that something that you've had to address with lawmakers in the building here? And what do you see, if you see, your unique role and skill set in addressing some of the debates that are going on both in this building and in the country about what intelligence should be?
I will say, as a former intelligence officer, like, I know that countries are watching us. I know, because I wrote up these reports. You know, there's fighting with these two factions, and this is what it means. There are intelligence officers and intelligence agencies watching the United States, watching the fights, watching the kind of beyond some of the sort of basic partisan debates, right? Watching an attack on the United States Capitol, and then watching some members of Congress defend it, right? Like, the reality is that other countries perceive that, and they perceive it as in a way that is, it can't be good. And so I think that when we're talking about the individuals who raise their right hand and pledge to uphold the Constitution and defend our country from enemies, foreign and domestic, and then, you know, go overseas and work crazy hours and do extraordinary and strange and, you know, unusual things for the ability to send information back home, like, those people are doing incredible work. For members of Congress to wrap them up in partisan debates is highly, highly inappropriate.
So, well, thank you so much. We promise to put your office back together.
We will.
And
Thank you.
I hope on future national security stories.